Good evening. You're watching State of Business on Art Television. This is Zeenat Musafir. Let's take a look at the headlines first. Economic growth to be 4% by the end of 2018. Sri Lanka must use technology to make subsidies more efficient, says Manu Tittawalla. News in details. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has decided to maintain policy interest rates at their current levels. The decision was taken at its meeting held yesterday. Accordingly, the standing deposit facility rate and standing lending facility rate of the Central Bank will remain at 7.25% and 8.5% respectively. Improved weather conditions are expected to favorably impact agricultural activities and related industries in the second half of 2018 and support the overall growth momentum, which is expected to be led by the expansion in services and industry-related activities. Year-on-year headline inflation, which remained in the low single digits during the period February-June 2018, accelerated in July 2018 as expected due to the recent transitory price pressures stemming from upward adjustments to domestic petroleum prices and higher volatile food prices. The CBSL also noted that the recently introduced measures to address the excessive growth of the import of gold and motor vehicles are expected to reduce the pressure on the balance of payments stemming from trade account dynamics. Addressing the media during the 5th Monetary Policy Review this afternoon, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajith Coomaraswamy, noted that the economic growth rate of Sri Lanka is significantly below projections and that it will result in an overall economic growth rate less than 4% by the end of 2018. He also expressed his hope to record $9 billion of gross official reserves at the end of 2018.
Last time we met, I think I said that growth was likely to be in the 4 to 4.5% range for the whole of this year. This is not really a formal estimate that I'm giving you, but once realistic, it's unlikely that growth is going to be more than 4% this year. That depends how the developments are taking place. Our potential growth rate we see as being 5.75, so there is a significant output gap, and one can make a case for easing monetary policy because growth is well below the potential rate of growth. Another factor which favors easing is the high nominal and real interest rates. Real interest rates in particular quite high. The reserves, I think the recorded reserves was $8.4 billion. I mean, we went up to close to 10 after the international sovereign bond issuance, but there have been payments since then. We think we'll finish the year with about $9 billion as far as reserves are concerned, and that's a comfortable number. It's about 5 months of import cover. From $8.4 billion, $1 billion will come in on the syndicated loan in 2 tranches of $500 million, one in August and the other in October. And if everything goes well, there should be one more IMF tranche of $250 million, and we are working towards a Panda bond issuance before the end of the year.
Speaking further, Governor Dr. Coomaraswamy noted that the increase in vehicle imports contributed $350 million of the overall trade deficit, which was at $716 million during the first 5 months of 2018. He also emphasized upon the importance of addressing a deterioration in the trade deficit promptly, as it will result in excessive government borrowings.
On the trade deficit actually over the first 5 months has worsened by about $716 million. Of that amount, $350 million can be attributed to the increase in vehicle import. Pretty much half the deterioration in the trade account was accounted for by vehicle imports. This deterioration in the trade deficit had to be addressed, because when the trade deficit deteriorates so much, current account and the balance of payments deteriorates, we have to borrow more from abroad. That is one. And as the balance of payments gets worse, there is pressure on the exchange rate. When the trade balance deteriorates as quickly as it has done in the first 5 months of this year, it's in the interest of everybody, particularly the poor and vulnerable, to make sure that deterioration is arrested, so that decline in the balance of payments does not lead to pressure on the exchange rate.
Delivering the keynote address at the CEO Network Forum organised by Art Television, Senior Advisor to the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media Manu Thithivella stated that the provision of government subsidies must specifically target vulnerable segments of society to eliminate inefficiencies and corruption within the system. He says that Sri Lanka needs to take full advantage of technology to target subsidies, which will help the government to reduce its overall costs and thus reduce the tax burden on the local community.
Nobody should be enjoying subsidies because it distorts market, because your cost structures are completely out. What subsidies does is it covers up inefficiencies and corruption. But we can't remove subsidies overnight. The economy has to grow, but it has to be a phased out operation. And there is problem in Sri Lanka is the subsidies are not targeted. In any country, you have to provide subsidies for the most vulnerable parts of society. You don't necessarily have to give subsidies to business, right? You can give some incentives so that they can compete. But the vulnerable parts of society have to be protected. So then we have to be able to target the subsidies. Since we have not made full use of technology, we are unable to target subsidies. Now India is doing this Aadhaar card. You don't have to give a subsidy on fuel price to everybody. But if I give somebody a technology-based electronic card, which has a subsidy loaded onto that, then he can buy also at the market price, but he pays less because he is getting money to do it. Whole social welfare reform also has to take place. There are Samurdhi people, large portion, who are for 25 years getting Samurdhi. So Samurdhi was a poverty alleviation program. So we have all forgotten the alleviation part. And by giving Samurdhi, we are actually promulgating poverty. So the subsidies are going to the wrong people. Vulnerable people have to be done, but I don't think everybody should sit and enjoy the subsidy.
Moreover, Manu Thithivella stated that listing of state-owned enterprises will boost the local stock market and specified the complications of listing state-owned enterprises in Sri Lanka. He made the following remarks while addressing the gathering.
Listing of state-owned enterprises is not as easy as you and I think. First, basically, they have to be prepared. And of course, there has to be a need for listing. I totally agree. A stock market listing is useful in terms of governance and accountability, etc. They are going to start with the two state banks, which are probably in fairly good shape. Next year, as all the bankers here know, Basel III capital requirements come into force. And the private banks, most of them have already raised their capital, and the state banks need to do the same. I think it's a good thing that we are listing it. It will be a minority stake. It will also boost the stock market, which is crying for liquidity and good stocks. But that process will take some time. Some of the enterprises we will sell off, like the Hilton and Hyatt, because there is no strategic reasons for government to hold those shares. Some will be not done because there is a strategic reason to have it in the government. So the two big ones will be the two banks, mainly to raise capital for its balance sheets for 2019. We have a culture of monopolies, protectionism. We like to live in our comfort zones in this country. Not only government, private sector is equally bad. If you look at the amount of protection we give private sector is unbelievable, and we have done the protection for 70 years. The industry is protected for 70 years and they can't compete, something wrong. These are tough, but you have to break those barriers. When that complacency sets in, nobody will do reform. So you got to take that out.
Tune in to our television at 8:30 p.m. this Sunday for the exclusive telecast of Manu Thithivella's address at the CEO Forum. We're going in for a short break. Do stay tuned for more news after these commercials. Welcome back. Lanka Clear Limited, the operator of Lanka Pay, Sri Lanka's national payment network, announced the launch of Lanka Pay Technovation Awards 2018, Sri Lanka's first and only Payment Technology Innovation Award ceremony at a press conference held in Colombo yesterday. The award ceremony is scheduled to be held on the 20th of September under the patronage of Chief Guest Minister of Telecommunications, Digital Infrastructure and Foreign Employment, Harin Fernando.
The Lanka Pay Technovation Awards will recognize member banks and non-banking financial institutions that have been promoting the use of innovative technology to promote digital transactions and have excelled in this endeavor. Initiated with the objective of reducing costs of financial transactions by promoting the use of the country's national payment infrastructure, Lanka Pay Technovation Awards will take into account interbank payments carried out during the period from 1st April 2017 to 31st March 2018. This year, the event will be held under the theme EC Recognizing Excellence and Convenience. Speaking at the event, Chief Executive Officer of Lanka Clear, Chana De Silva, emphasized upon the role of Lanka Clear in operating Sri Lanka's payment network by introducing people-friendly mechanisms for digital transactions.
We offer multiple services starting from check imaging and truncation, which reduce the check clearing, interbank check clearing from a week or more to 1 business day now. We have the common POS switch, which is going to be utilized by the issuance of the national card scheme, which is going to be available fairly soon, which is a co-branded card or co-badged card of JCB and Lanka Pay. The whole idea of introducing that card is to reduce the cost structure to the banks. We have recently introduced digitally signing documents via mobile. A real-time a digital certificate is issued to a mobile for somebody to enable electronic payment and also digitally signing a mandate. We also introduced what's called Lanka Pay online payment platform. Right now, customs payment, I believe about 10 banks can make payments. The money has to get transferred to a state bank, but a private bank, if you go to the internet banking portal, you can make a payment. Previously, you had to go to a bank branch counter, get a pay order, huge process. Now it can be done from your home or office, wherever you are, 365 days of the year.
Meanwhile, speaking at the event, the Secretary to the Ministry of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, Wasantha Deshapriya, highlighted several initiatives that will be implemented to promote digital transformation.
We are right now looking at many new innovations which are paving the path for digitalization. Our ministry is on the verge of publishing the strategy for digitalization of economy, and it is to start with 13 projects. One of the projects is, I'm very happy to announce that, to be undertaken by Central Bank to assist the deregularization or creating a mobile platform enabling environment. We are also working for our ministry as well as working with the Ministry of Internal Affairs are now opening up for the procurement process for setting up for introducing e-passports, and also the electronic gates for the immigration are also being looked at. With the introduction of e-passports, I'm sure that there will be automatic border control gates, what we call e-gates, will be introduced very soon.
The 17th ProFood, ProPack and AgBiz exhibition began at the BMICH this morning. The annual exhibition and trade show organized by Sri Lanka Food Processors Association and the Lanka Exhibition and Conference Services will be held until Sunday. The exhibition will feature over 350 stalls and over 30,000 visitors are expected to attend the event, displaying all facets of the agriculture and food and beverages industry. This year's expo has 2 separate pavilions from the largest global players in the industry, India and China. A special pavilion will also be provided to university students to showcase their innovations. Moreover, this year the exhibition will have a food fiesta for the first time and a cooking studia inspiring housewives to learn from the very best with new recipes and ideas. We are going in for a short break. Do stay tuned for more news after these commercials. Welcome back. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The All Share Price Index gained 7.55 points to close at 6,143.90 and the S&P SL20 gained 10.84 points to close at 3,320.34. The turnover was 150.4 million rupees and 10.9 million shares were traded. Next is forex rates. That's all the news we have for you today. Join us tomorrow with Biz Roundup on our television. Until then, take care and good night.